Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cinema Savvy. And we are back with another watch-along, watch party, commentary track, whatever you want to call it. And today, as you can see from the very nice graphic, we are talking some Labyrinth. We're going to be watching Labyrinth. We've got it all on Netflix, ready to go. Whether you've got it on DVD, I'd say VHS, because this did come out in 1986, and probably some of you have a VHS copy. If you even have VHSs, I know I still do, but get it on Netflix just because it's easier. And we have some people, George that way. And I know you've seen this film, but it's been a while. George, this is your first time watching this movie.
Yeah, it's strange because in my household, David Bowie is kind of like the celebrity. I still remember the day he passed away. There was silence in the household for a day. My dad and sister had never listened to his final album. They can't do it out of trauma. And I was brought up on a lot of his music, which is strange to me that I've never seen Labyrinth. I think my sister owns it. It's one of them films that it's not escaped me. I've just never sat down and said, right, I'm going to do it. Or I missed it last year when Dark Crystal came out because the whole Jim Henson stuff, and I've kind of bided my time. I'm excited to do it tonight because it's a film I've wanted to watch. So I'm very intrigued to go into this. Not like Indiana Jones where I hadn't seen it and I did it for our video. This is one where I'm very intrigued and excited by because he's one of the greatest musicians that ever lived. If he's not.
I remember seeing this. I can't actually remember how long ago it was. I want to say I was like 10, 11, maybe a little bit older. But I remember I was distracted whilst watching it. Like I was on my phone whilst I was watching it, so I wasn't ridiculously interested. But I do remember liking the film, if that helps, from what I remember, what I did actually watch of it. So this will be the first time I'm properly, fully focused on the film, which should be quite interesting.
I've seen this film more times than I care to remember. I've last watched this, I think, last year. It's probably almost like a year to the day that I last watched this movie. It's one of my favorites, cult classic. I know it has a big audience out there, a lot of people who loved it. This is going to be interesting going into this, though, because George, again, I never remember who's seen what. George, you've seen Dark Crystal, you've seen the Dark Crystal TV series.
One episode.
What episode? Oh, yeah. I thought you watched the whole thing, didn't you?
It's on my list still.
Okay.
I don't gallop into Netflix as much, really hypothetical, because I sit there binging Disney Plus. But I didn't dislike it. I just didn't go back to it. I will at some point. I don't know when, but I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting episode 1 to be as good as good for a start as it was too. But yeah. See,
I love Dark Crystal for different reasons. Dark Crystal is very much more of like a serious kind of lore movie. This is just some fun. This is, just like fun, easy, nice movie to watch. This one I'd probably watch more so than Dark Crystal because I find this more of an entertaining film with the musical elements, David Bowie, the creature design and everything like that. So, yeah, we've got Hennock, we've got Sheila.
I was going to say, watching this today, it's going to be a massive kind of tonal whiplash from the previous film that I've watched today, which was The Five Bloods, which we'll probably be doing a review of. Are we planning on doing it tomorrow? Or
I think tomorrow, yes. We're going from Vietnam to puppets to Muppets. A lot of Marvin Gaye in that, and so at least there is music in this. We've got David Bowie. For an immediate style, you can't really go wrong. And what modern musician can you put in a ridiculous over-the-top fantasy film that's going to perfectly suit it and enhance it? I don't think anyone can.
Well, we'll find out when they inevitably make Labyrinth 2, which I believe has been... I know it's been confirmed.
Dare I say it? I can already see them casting Jared Leto.
I think Lady Gaga's my bet.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, I'm not fine with a sequel to Labyrinth, but here we are anyway. So, without further ado, do we want to give it another minute? Do we want to wait till 5 minutes, or are we happy to jump straight into this thing?
We're happy to jump in.
I'm happy to go in. So, as Chris mentioned already, you can get it on Netflix. We're all on Netflix here. 1 hour, 41 minutes, 10 seconds is the total running time. That's shorter than our normal ones, but that's the way it works. We're not doing a 3-hour epic. We will do Lord of the Rings one day, Chris. Sorry.
Yes.
4 hours.
But it is not this day.
I've got 1 hour, 41 minutes, 13 seconds on mine.
Oh, maybe my Netflix starts.
That's it.
No, you are right. That's my Netflix being strange. But yeah, I'm ready when everyone else is.
Okay, so we'll count down from 3, and we'll go on 0, I guess. 3, 2, 1, 0. And I need to get some subtitles on.
I believe I have my subtitles on already.
Oh, the old school TriStar logo.
No, it's that one scene from Blade Runner.
Oh, I need to tell
I can't remember which film I went to. There was a fairly recent film I went to see that was a TriStar film. And just seeing, it was like obviously more modernized than that logo, but it still had the Pegasus. And it was amazing.
What happened to TriStar? Because I swear they used to do
They were
loads
bought, I think they were probably bought out by another company. I don't know which company, though.
Do they have something to do with Terminator? Or am I just thinking things?
Oh, maybe. So this is a fun fact. We're seeing a CGI owl here, which obviously hasn't aged particularly well. This was the first semi-realistic animal made by CGI in film history. So it all started here, folks.
I mean, it's not a George Lucas thing, but it's like the tick-book of Lucasfilm are involved, which I didn't know until 20 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like the Top Gun theme. This is interesting. I don't know literally almost anything. Sheila says, George, this is my favourite film. I'll be offended if you don't like it. I'm probably going to enjoy it. It'll be really
TriStar. Last TriStar film I would have seen would be Baby Driver. I didn't see A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and I didn't see All the Money in the World.
No, I didn't see either of them.
This is what I miss about films. I always mention this, but just opening title sequences just gets you into the film.
I understand why they have them at the end now, because it's like we want to get you straight into the film, straight into the action, and then afterwards we can show all these titles, what the film... Like, you don't need the film title at the start. I get that, and I understand why it's become the trend.
I like the immersion, though. It's sort of, it's like a prelude to get you into it.
Watching a film.
Yeah.
Some films do it.
It's like, for me, Superman the movie wouldn't have the impact it has if you didn't have that opening title with the John Williams music playing at the beginning. If you go straight into it, I think you lose a lot of the impact.
Sometimes all you need is a good company logo.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of Spider-Man then, but obviously we have one of the greatest intros in history, which gets better each film.
Yeah. Serves as a recap as well in those films. I don't want to make this too much of a Spider-Man review. That day will come.
Well, I'd say Mission Impossible does something quite unique with it by showing the
entire whole film. Yeah. The first time I noticed, I was like, this wasn't in the trailer. I was like, oh my god, the trailer, what's coming out?
There you go. There was executive producer George Lucas there, so we've got that. This was one of Jennifer Connelly's first movies as well. It wasn't a first. I think she had a bit part in Once Upon a Time in America before doing this.
Is this meant to be another fantasy realm? Sorry, Chris, I'm not normally someone that asks those questions.
No, this is the normal world.
I was going to say it just looks like they've just gone to a random river in England.
I think she's reading a play or something.
She's about to go around abusing owls, Pulls out a baseball bat.
It's not even sadder than Hedwig's death. Spoilers. It's not really sad that death in the film, is it?
I know you guys aren't on Reddit, but have you seen the subreddit Owls with Feet? Where they show pictures of owls with the feathers pulled up.
Weird. It's very weird. You have no power here, Gandalf the Grey. Sorry. Wrong fantasy. It's all fantasy related. Why not?
And we are doing a fantasy quiz this Thursday.
Yep, 8:30 p.m. So if I was going to compare this film sort of in its, not so much in its story, but the kind of how it's structured and everything, I'd say it's very Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz kind of vibe to it. Sort of like a series of different colourful characters as she goes on this journey, not massively connected. Well, I guess it's probably more connected than something like Alice in Wonderland, but Sheila is spitting some Labyrinth facts in the comments. I was going to bring that up when we get to his character in a minute, the baby. And I think this is a movie so of its time as well. Like I know they're doing a sequel. I just don't think maybe a new one wouldn't work. I know Dark Crystal can because it's sort of a world that was created, but this
is
more of a unique film.
Jumanji worked in the modern age.
It's very different to the original, though. But if you're doing this in the same world, we know they can do it with the puppets. We've seen it with Age of Resistance on Netflix. It looked amazing, best it ever has. But just this is a very 80s movie to me. I don't think you can quite recapture that.
Mm.
Very American.
I was going to say, the mum's probably thinking, why is she dressed up as like a medieval princess? What's happening here?
And why is the baby dressed as like a sailor or like a robber? Oh, that's terrifying.
Oh, let's just be calm.
I'm sure all these things won't come into the story somehow.
I don't have any kind of phobias or anything like that, but I'm not going to lie. If I go into someone's house and I see a bunch of doll houses and miniatures, that's creepy.
Yeah.
That is creepy.
When I was at school, do you remember we all had to do work experience like year 10? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Certainly British viewers will. I worked at a TV shop, so for 1 week I was doing sales and basically watching films. The second week I was going to people's houses doing repairs. And it was like a local company, so it's already Christmas. I remember going into this house, and there were dolls in the hallway. There were dolls everywhere, and you know when you just have that vibe where you're gonna not make it out there. I've never been scared of situations like that, but it was like the uneasiness of walking in.
She's very angsty. She's very, very angsty.
Nah,
See,
the kids
I've never had siblings. I've never had I'm an only child, so I've never had older siblings, younger, whatever. So I'm so glad I never had to put up with this growing up, being an only child.
I was the baby in my household, but my age gap was only, I think, between my two older sisters 4 years, so it wasn't too bad. But I'm always told by my older sister that when they found out I was a boy, she started crying on the stairs after I was born. I thought,
Wait, is that a good cry or a bad cry? Did you ever ask?
Definitely a bad cry, but Enoch, it's a shame I didn't get to encounter David Bowie or even have a chance to talk to him. There are probably many millions of people that are in the same exact thoughts. I saw a video game viral last night of an amazing interview with MTV from the early 80s where he just ends up interviewing MTV, not them interviewing him. Go search that out.
When I keep hearing the Goblin King in this film, I just think of, the first Hobbit movie with the goblin with like the ball sack jaw. Like if they'd have replaced that with David Bowie.
I mean, that sings too, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yeah.
You have like arguments with your siblings and stuff like that. I don't think saying, "Oh yeah, you're gonna be kidnapped," and yeah, we're gonna turn you into a fucking monster. Yeah, I don't think that's.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I struggle with babies and younger cousins, so I'm very much in the category.
So yeah, the baby, the lead conceptual designer for this film, Brian Froud, he worked on Dark Crystal, and he's actually worked on the new series as well, most recently. This was his real life son, and when he was doing the original sketches, he drew like a bunch of goblins, as you see in the movie, and then a human child, and that kind of what sparked the initial, idea for the story then. Apparently the baby was very hard to work with. He didn't really do what he was directed to do, which is unsurprising. But they say don't work with, in films, don't work with babies, animals, and something else. There's a third one as well. Can't remember. Is it going to be like the ending of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Like, too dark?
That's just asking for it, right?
Neither of you asked summoned the Goblin King, the hellish Goblin King, to take away your sibling at any point.
I wish the Goblin King would come and perform a concert for me.
You're right. So we 70s Bowie fans or 80s Bowie fans? I don't really need to answer that question because you guys can probably guess that already, but
I'm more 70s. I mean, I like even his newer stuff. His last two albums I liked. I'm not big on music. I can't tell you every album and stuff, but on my best of playlist, the songs are majority sort of late 60s, early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a stupendously humongous Bowie fan. I liked some of his songs. I haven't listened to any of his albums before or anything like that. But yeah.
It's now turned into a horror movie right now.
It's gonna be
we never did do a horror watch along, did we?
Its eyes. What have you done to its eyes?
Just peels it back, and then it's the from Train Spotting. You have the baby on the ceiling.
So yeah, this movie was kind of a shame because it didn't make its budget back at all. It was done on a budget of 25 mil, and it made about just shy of 13. Wasn't particularly well received when it first came out, and that had like a big knock-on effect to Jim Henson and his career. I think he went kind of spiraled out a little bit. I'm not sure if he made much stuff after that. The man himself. I did, for a second, try to consider styling my hair like that before the stream, but then I realised that I'd have to ditch this also, and that ain't going to happen. This is going to be our first review of a David Bowie movie. We will have a second following next month for a particular movie.
Wait.
Prestige.
Oh, sorry. I was sorry. When I think of like a Bowie film, I don't sound sacrilege. I think of Bowie in a Nolan film. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So this was really cool how they. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, didn't they have the person who could do the really good juggling and everything like that, like behind him? Basically,
he was behind, yeah. And he had to do it blind, and there's loads of takes where there's a shot later on where he like brings it out, kind of does a thing, and then throws it. And he kept dropping the ball because he couldn't look at it as he was doing it. But it looks cool. It's a good illusion. It works. It's so simple, but apparently they had a lot of. They knew they wanted to go with a sort of contemporary rock musician at the time. And they were deciding whether to go. I know names like Sting were mentioned, Mick Jagger, Prince, Michael Jackson. But after seeing this, you really can't imagine anyone else.
Prince would have been hilarious. Not gonna lie.
Because with Michael Jackson, you had stuff where he did The Wiz, didn't he? So they'd done musicals like that.
What film was Michael Jackson in talks of being in before he died? I remember seeing it recently on the news.
Ooh.
It's going to annoy me because I feel like it was glaring the opposite. I know that obviously Bowie was going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. They always said, didn't they?
And actually, and when I see him in this role with how he talks and how he is as a person as well, he's quite ethereal, quite a strange vibe about him in real life. He's a very interesting guy. He was originally cast or wanted to be in talks to play Elrond, Hugo Weaving's character in the Lord of the Rings films. And I can kind of see it, like how he actually carries himself.
I can definitely see that.
He is very elvish, like his, like cheekbones, his facial structure and everything. Yeah.
People always spoke about Joker, didn't they, at times as well?
Yeah.
So if anyone's ever been to Longley in England, they have a very difficult maze to get through, which kind of reminded me of Labyrinth.
Has anyone been through a human maze? I never have.
They've always creeped me out. And this was before I saw The Shining. I don't like the idea of getting lost in one and not being able to get out. There's something very claustrophobic about them, and when you hit loads of dead ends, the panic kind of sets in a little bit for me. So at the time, this character of Hoggle was the most complex puppet the company had made. It took
Hoggle?
Hoggle, yeah.
Oh, it was so close to you know who.
Hoggle the Greater.
Is it a puppet or is it a man in a costume?
So it's a small actress in the actual costume, and then it was 4 other people animating the face. One was sort of on the mouth, one was on the eyes. And it was a lot of rehearsal, apparently, as indeed a lot of the puppets were in this film, where they had to sort of, from the voice performance would be said in a certain way, which would dictate that certain facial animations would have to go with the tone of voice, and then the actress would have to give that in a physical performance as well. So it was 5 people, and they had to all kind of work in sync to make it work. But it was the most expressive, especially the face, the most expressive character they'd made at the time. I think it's quite creepy.
Yeah, it's jarring, isn't it?
It's like
Big ears out of Noddy.
Yeah. It's like when you see like a 70-year-old wino at a bar. He's got like the kind of nose, you know what I mean? Like smell of stale piss.
I mean, he was just pissing in the fountain. So.
He was, yeah. So maybe that's why. So with
I'm concerned as to why the walls are wet and shiny.
Because it looks cool. That's a really great effect how they've done that. Because that's like a matte painting or something, but it looks so good. So there's a few films where when I see them for the first time, I just have to, like the day after, I'll go back and rewatch it straight away because it absolutely blew me away. The first Matrix film was a film that did that, where it felt like I'd seen something that I hadn't seen before. And I had the same with this movie, actually. I rewatched it straight away the day after watching it for the first time. It's not, in terms of the plot, it's not anything groundbreaking or anything like that, but I love the imagination behind it and the world and the creatures and the conceptual design. It's one of those films where probably if you're going to buy the art of book like Dark Crystal, this is definitely one to have.
Who voices him?
Ooh, that's a good question. I will find.
I know that Frank Oz is in this. Is it a very obvious Frank Oz voice, or is it?
I will double check who. I think he plays some sort of secondary characters. Frank Oz. Oh, about to get some serious 80s synth music going on right now. Oh, Brian Henson. So Jim Henson's son did the voice for him. And the one who was in the costume was Cherie Weiser, I think her name was. I'll just double check Frank Oz. I think he might do the voice of Ludo, the big sort of Sasquatch-looking thing. I might be wrong. IMDb is probably my best bet, isn't it? Oh, no, he just plays one character. Oh, no, he didn't even do the voice. He was just a puppeteer on this one by the looks of it, Frank Oz.
I'm sorry, but her character's just given up. She's walked like 20 meters. What's that about?
Well, I think it's inferred that she's been walking for a while. I think when she checks the time, it's been a while. It's like Inception. Time moves differently in the Labyrinth.
Well, that might be how they make a sequel film.
Inversion. Oh, sorry, Labyrinth. Sorry, I was talking about. Can you imagine if Tenet was just called Inversion? He would have completed the
Inception.
The quadrilogy: Insomnia, Inception, Interstellar, Inversion.
This feels like a sweet, like 8-bit side scroller video game music.
I want her to just walk into the obvious wall that's there.
A little Wile E. Coyote kind of cutout. Love this character.
Reminds me of James the Giant Peach.
Mm. I think they bought out a bunch of Funko Pops for this movie, didn't they? If I remember.
Yeah, I think the last couple of years they got the license going.
Mm.
I mean, they're doing a sequel. You can imagine, not goals, but I think Dark Crystal, they did the same. It got its resurgence when they did the Netflix show.
So I think a sequel's been talked about for a while. I know there was I think it was a 4-issue comic books series that served as Return to the Labyrinth. That was done in sort of 06 to 2010. Those were released, and this was on Wikipedia. It says that a sequel was talked about in 2016, that it's going to serve as more of a spin-off but set in the same universe. If they were going to do one, that's probably the best way to go about it rather than a direct sequel. Oh, this is a great shot now. You absolute bastard.
Prick. I wonder how much of this was inspired by like Salvador Dali's paintings and stuff like that. Because it has that kind of vibe to it, doesn't it?
Well, as I say, like the conceptual, he had like done a lot of work on fantasy stuff, but I'm not sure. Maybe it could be. I know that what was it? What was his name? Terry Jones from Monty Python. He originally penned the script to this thing. It had changed quite a lot though from like the finished product, what you see here, from his original idea. But he's a very sort of, he came up with some of the creature ideas, for example, the helping hands, which you'll see later on. He's got that quite zany, weird and wacky vision.
It's got that unique, like Monty Python, not necessarily humor, but the weird environment interaction.
Surrealism, yeah. This is one of probably the most famous song from it, I'd say.
Is this technically a musical?
Yeah.
Is that hair or a microphone at the side of his mouth?
Hmm?
Oh, I thought there was a microphone, but it's just his hair.
So I don't know if this is probably... There's a shot that's sort of more obvious later on, but throughout the movie, Bowie wears tights throughout this whole film, and you see certain things. It's very difficult to avert your gaze sometimes because it's almost a character unto itself because it's there. You know what I mean?
Now you've said it, it's probably going to be hard to avoid it.
It's something a lot of people bring up in this film, but it's a thing.
Wait, I completely missed that. Sorry. What was that?
You pretend that you didn't hear that. That's fine. Yeah. It's going to change your opinion.
I was too busy focusing on the film. I didn't even hear what you said. Is that a good thing?
Maybe. If you bring it up later, I'll let you know. If you point it out yourself. But
what an insult.
I really need to add that into my everyday conversation at some point.
Is that along with the Monty Python?
Yeah.
Oh, was a hamster.
Your mother was a hamster. Your father smelt of elderberries, and your mother was a fragging aardvark.
Would he have kept him as a human, or would he have fed them to the goblins?
He'd turn him into a goblin, I think. I know there's people out there that are really into like the lore of this. This doesn't have like a really established lore like Dark Crystal does or anything like that, but I've seen theories that all the goblins there are like children that he's kidnapped in the past or something. It's probably bullshit because they all look different, don't they? So,
I mean, Chris, I don't mean to say this, but every kid looks different.
No, but I mean, some are like old crones. You know what I mean? Like
Like that.
Chris, do you think that all kids look the same?
Yes, I do. Yeah, Sheila says, I think there is a manga series that centers around Toby and his adventures in the labyrinth. What, baby Toby? That'd be weird.
I love that it's so blatantly a baby born that's just been throwing around. But I love nothing will ever be as bad as American Sniper because it was 2014.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's more acceptable in this movie because it's surrounded by puppets, so it's like all part of it.
So does the Lucasfilm own the rights to this?
I don't. It's well, actually, it's Henson, isn't it? So,
Henson.
Well, no, I guess they still have it.
She just randomly finds like a Sith holocron or something like that.
Because I just mean, if there's a sequel, it won't be like Indiana Jones, where they've got to go through them. It'll probably be exterior, someone else.
Yeah. Because I was thinking Dark Crystal. That wasn't Disney or anything, was it? So I think they're autonomous. I think it's just the Muppets, maybe that. I know
Probably
Disney owned that.
Funding and get the green lighting and stuff like that, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think 86 just slapped the Lucasfilm logo on it, you're going to get whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a famous riddle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. There is a question you meant to ask, isn't there? Which gets you the correct answer. I can't remember what it is though.
I'm not. I need to read this. I want to read this because I like riddles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was like one of Terry Jones's ideas, the helping hands. This is really cool how they did this. It was like a 40-foot shaft that had a lower down on wires and had all actors with the gloves on.
Yeah, that's Monty Python. You can tell, can't you?
I think the film Return to Oz does something similar like this as well, but I think that's more claymation and stop motion rather than. But it looks kind of the same.
Return to Oz is a creepy film.
Yeah, it is. Really creepy. I always thought the original Wizard of Oz, though, had a creepiness to it, but I don't know if how much of that comes from the actual movie itself and also like the 1930s. It was a 30s film, wasn't it? Wizard of Oz, I think.
Yeah, 39. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the weird 30s movie making, which was really uncomfortable and creepy when you read into it. Oh yeah, Sheila's just confirmed. She says, "I've just looked it up, and Return to Labyrinth was 4 volumes. It's set 13 years after Labyrinth and is about Toby. That clearly won't be what Labyrinth 2 is about, though. They could get Jennifer Connelly back. You know, she's in Top Gun Maverick this year.
What has Jennifer Connelly been in recently?
She was in Noah with Russell Crowe.
Oh God,
I never saw that, but I heard enough about it.
either.
So how was she in this? She meant to be like 16 or like 12? Or...
14 she was when she made this.
She's in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
I just said that.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Noah.
I said she's in Top Gun Maverick this year, and then you said, what else has she been? And I said, Noah.
Yeah.
Did someone see the 15-second Top Gun behind-the-scenes video they released? It was just someone recording the camera crew every time a real-life fighter went past them, and they went super slow-mo when their hairs all like blow up from the speed. Very exciting.
That'll be an IMAX film.
It's a shame it's coming out the same week as Dune. One of them needs to move. One of them does. But yeah, I can't wait.
As much as I hate to say it, I think Top Gun's probably the one that deserves to move because Dune's that big.
And it was Dune's original release too. Not to get smiley with things like that, but
Dune looks very promising.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I'm intrigued. I want to buy the book, but I also don't because I want to go in cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of those. All I know about it is it's one of those expansive universes, a bit like your Star Wars, your Lord of the Rings, where they really they have so much lore to work with. They could just go nuts with it.
The description I always hear is like Star Wars for adults, isn't it? That's what they've always said it kind of is.
I'll probably get the audiobook or something. I don't think I'll go through all the books before it, but I'll certainly read the first one.
I don't think they'll franchise it. I think they'll do the second one because the second one going to be part 2 of book 1.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that cast signing on for a big franchise, especially director as well.
Sheila said, I'm assuming she's referring to Jennifer Connelly. She is the voice of Karen in Spider-Man. Which one's Karen?
What's it called? Spider-Man.
It's the MCU universe. You know that he's got all his AI because he's not good enough to do it himself.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
She's the voice of the AI, the actual Spider-Man, not him. Fairly established quickly, he doesn't need to do it himself. Oh, it's Count Dooku from the Clone Wars.
This must have been a great experience, though, being on set for this thing. Like, there's this scene coming up in a minute. Something chases her, and it was like all on set. It was all there, and there was like that element of danger to it. They have to get through something before it gets to them. I just feel if they did a sequel now, which is it officially been announced they're doing a sequel? Is it still like it could potentially happen?
It was there's a sequel in production, but like I think they hired a script writer, I want to say. So it's the earliest of days, but it's like there is a green light to a point. But it'd be a point where they could just say no, we're not doing it, and it's no issue.
Mm-hmm. If they can strike that balance like Dark Crystal on Netflix, then visually it'll be fine. But if they go full on CGI with it, it's just nah.
I see what you mean now, Chris. Yeah.
It's quite distracting, isn't it?
I wouldn't have looked if you hadn't said.
It's like you can't help but look. You know what I mean? Like it's there. Always thought it would be a really good Halloween costume to do. However, I then remember this, and I then remember that it's in the back end of October, and
It's cold.
unless you got a couple of
Did you dye
socks.
your hair blonde?
Oh, there we go. That's the shot.
Tayte twice up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's finally got it. He's finally got it. The Bowie bulge, is I think a lot of fans call it. I think probably a lot of people. I was going to say a lot of women growing up. I guess some guys just watched this and was like, "There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?" That's a really cool jacket, though.
Oh, it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah. There are some rolling boulders in it later on.
Story
So
2.
it's like a saw trap.
Jennifer. What's her character name in the film?
Jigsaw?
No, her character name.
Oh, in this?
Yeah.
It's Sarah.
You tried to sacrifice your sister. Now it must you
Brother.
must face
Brother.
a sacrifice.
God damn it, Tate. You even watching the movie? Toby.
Skyfall.
Brother.
Oh, that's quite. I like that. That's a little
I'm just
comment.
saying, if it was in the form of a saw trap, like
Yeah.
maybe this film is just a film where I just switch off. It's like the same with the Fast and Furious films. I can go and watch it, but I won't be paying attention to anything that's happening.
You should be paying attention to this movie.
I wouldn't compare this to Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I wouldn't compare it in that sense, but I'm getting similar kind of just tune out and just, you know.
Get your head in the game, Tate. This is pure film magic right here that you're missing.
I'm going into this with the mindset of it's an 80s film that I would have not liked more as a kid because I enjoyed it so
Yeah.
far. I can imagine if you saw this at a young age, you're going to have the attachments to it.
I saw it as a teenager. I can't remember which year exactly I watched it, but I wasn't like young by any stretch of the imagination. I was still fairly late in the game coming to this. But I grew up with films similar to this. I'm very surprised that I didn't watch this growing up. So I've always had that kind of attachment to films like this, of this kind of era and the type of film.
So do you guys know anyone who stuck their foot in the bog of eternal stench?
I think this next character coming up in a minute is the one that Frank Oz puppeted, but he didn't do the voice for. Is that? Can you do that to a small? I've got to say, small actor. I was going to say.
In this day and age. Do you know what I mean? He sounds a bit like Yoda when he emphasizes the words.
Yeah, this was the thing that Frank Oz probably dressed as, I'm guessing.
Is that the main villain from Kung Fu Panda 2?
Oh, wait, has he got two heads?
Yeah. I guess that the bird thing's like a sort of headdress thing, but it's also got a life of its own.
It's like Bloody Mary Poppins' umbrella. But you can only hear rain because there's really heavy rain in my house and the window's open.
I mean, we had thunder earlier, so...
It would have worked if it was the opening scene when they have it.
Mm.
Now that looks like that fucking...
Oh, Jesus. I thought that was part of the film then.
I'm gonna shut the window, guys.
Oh my God. We had thunder earlier here, probably about an hour ago. It has now moved to George's neck of the woods.
That was very dramatic. All I can say is that after the thunder, the sky's reasonably still quite bright.
Could you imagine if, like, I really wish that had been timed when David Bowie's character showed up on screen.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine if that had been like, and then David Bowie shows up? That would have been amazing.
I think there was a delay of that scaring the shit out of me than you two hearing it.
I haven't been paying to any of the dialogue in that scene. We were just talking about thunder.
I like stories like this. Like a lot of the fantasy, that like not all of it, but I like ones that are sort of episodic, where you move from encounter to encounter. Like as I mentioned earlier, like Alice in Wonderland. I love that story. The Hobbit's very similar. It's very sort of a series of interconnected set pieces, essentially.
It's like a journey, isn't it? You go from A to B.
Yeah.
Stuff in the journey that makes it. Even Lord of the Rings to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Coen Brothers films incorporate that kind of sense of the characters you meet along the way.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you've just got Jack Torrance just running through it like, Daddy! Oh, yeah. Fuck that. If I heard that in a maze, that'd be it. Nah.
I feel like we need to stick Chris in a maze. I think this would be quite fun.
No, we don't. Especially don't want to do one of those horror mazes either. You know, the ones you get around Halloween.
Stick him in the middle. Just see what happens.
Mm.
I can picture Jack from The Shining come out now.
Do you know what movie has ruined Jennifer Connelly for me forever?
Go on.
Requiem for a Dream.
I can see that.
There are parts of that film. Just still the most depressing movie I've ever seen in my life. Requiem for a Dream. Very fantastic film. Amazing film. One of the best edited films I've seen in my life, but yeah.
I've still never seen it.
I don't even... Would I ever be in the mindset to watch Requiem for a Dream again? I don't know. I think it's a film you need to see once, but...
There is
that chicken on the end of a stick?
No, it's like a little... It wasn't a chicken. It's like a little T-Rex looking thing.
Yeah, there are some films out there which you can only watch once.
Yeah.
Like, I still haven't been able to get around to rewatching Cinder's List. Like, I've seen it once. I can't bring myself to watching it again.
I had a very different experience watching that. I think I was Chris, was you the other week about it?
Yes, yeah.
The Saturday night Schindler's List film, probably the worst viewing experience of my lifetime. It's not a film you should watch on Saturday night. It's a Sunday afternoon. Be in the right mindset because it's going to mess you up. Oh, I recognise this Yeti thing.
Hennick says, I've definitely got to watch this movie more than once, fellas. I kid not. I'm assuming you're talking about Labyrinth and not either Schindler's List or Requiem for a Dream. You masochist.
What? Do you think other films you can only ever see once and probably never again? There's like
Green Mile's one that kind of really affects me. I've seen it like twice, beginning to end. In my top 10 films of all time, but really hard to watch.
I'm trying to think.
It's mostly kind of... It's weird. A lot of my favorite films of all time, maybe as opposed to like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, I really don't watch all that much in a weird way.
It saves the experience.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of something else I've only seen a few times.
7 I've probably seen 2 or 3 times, and that's in my top 10.
Godfather I've seen once. It tends to be a time thing as well, in all honesty. Like, a lot of these amazing films are like 3 hours plus, you know.
Yeah, I could say the same for like Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time in America. Both films.
And especially with America, which cut are you watching? Are you watching the... Isn't there like a 5-hour cut out there that's available somewhere? Or... That's actually still a movie I've never watched. Once Upon a Time in America. I have it on DVD, but then I heard there were these longer cuts out there, and now I kind of don't want to watch my version and want to try and track down the longest available version to buy if I can.
I've not seen it. I've got it on Blu-ray. I feel as if the version on the back is like 3 hours 40 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I know that you can buy these knockers for your door, which are pretty cool. Guess he couldn't just spit it out, right?
It looks like olives in his eyes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it does. Henix mentioned Gremlins in the comments. That's another film that I love. I'd love to do a watch along at Gremlins at some point.
It's the weirdest form of torture I've ever seen.
It's where it's going to be like David Carradine and be like really secretly into it. R.I.P. David Carradine. At least the man died doing something he loved, right? Because that's what people want to hear in a children-friendly movie: autoerotic asphyxiation. When I see films like this, though, with a lot of stuff like this, like when I watch Lord of the Rings, Dark Crystal, or this, and you see all these different creatures, even Star Wars, you just wonder how they do it, how long it takes to like get everything on screen, and it's just must be so much planning.
So my question is, from this film, how did she know what to say to the Goblin King to get the kid kidnapped?
I guess it's in one of her books. Like, wasn't she reading something at the beginning? I think I don't want to spoil it. There's a bit where that whole thing of reading the fantasy book that she was reading, or the play or whatever, comes back.
Yeah. So what you're saying is she's just a theatre geek, and that's...
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think you shout Ludo when you win the game.
God, that's been years since I've played that.
Mm.
This is really cool. I love this.
Oh,
So cool.
Hmm.
I think it's this scene in a minute. He throws something to Hoggle, and that was the one that they must have done ridiculous amount of takes on.
So, Chris, I know you're into your film edits. Could you do a film edit where it's Poggle the Lesser instead of Hoggle?
Oh yeah, I'll get right into ILM. Can you do some like high level compositing? I'll get you a couple of $1 million. Hoggle the Lesser. I would watch that movie.
Or just
and
put Star Wars.
I would gladly supply the Geonosian voiceover for it as well.
once you learn the language.
So I've got that 10-minute video now on YouTube. I'm going to be fluent in it by the next stream.
Forget Rosetta Stone, the astronauts at NASA use it.
Bowie playing with his balls again. That shot where he throws it.
I think if we ever did a drinking game version of this film, every time Hoggle isn't actually called by his own name.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that. Yeah, that's a good one. Every time Bowie takes out the magic ball.
Every time Bowie magically balls, was that?
Yes. Oh, sick burn, Bowie. Oh.
I thought that was funny. For a kid. Like, an 8-year-old would find that incredible.
Was that like Borat's Nat? Kind of like the equivalent of that. Oh, this is the movie like is surfing off pure LSD at this point. This is the randomest scene in the whole film.
I mean, this
Things are terrifying.
Seriously, this and Requiem for a Dream, 2 films.
Oh, you can see the green screen as well.
Yeah.
So how they shot this this was like one of the most complex ones they had in terms of the puppetry. They filmed it in front of a black sheet of velvet, and they had the puppeteers dressed in black as well. And then they had to key them out, but it wasn't very convincing. And Jim Henson himself said he wasn't happy with how it turned out in the final film, the composite. But he thought the puppetry was really impressive in it, that he didn't want to cut it out completely to give them credit, which is fair.
It doesn't help the bright red.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there are some quite ropey, like blue screen, green screen shots in this film. But again, with stuff like this of this time,
Yeah,
I appreciate what we're trying to do. I have a bit of leeway with it. Like, I don't mind it. It's part of the charm.
How is this a you?
Yeah, this is nightmare fuel. These are terrifying.
That is just...
This was Terry Jones as well, I remember. I don't know if they'd come up with a song before. There was something about losing your head, and then he thought it would be cool if they could actually take off their heads. Sheila says, these still give me nightmares. Yeah.
They literally are like Stitcher Speed from like.
Oh,
they do, yeah. They do look, yeah.
Have it on English CC instead of just English. You get the song lyrics up.
I must admit, I'm quite grateful. This is the first time I've watched this movie with subtitles. I've never known what the lyrics are to this song. They're so random.
If they're doing a remake,
Of what?
we need to have like a prominent rap group. Just like do.
This is like a weird kind of.
Diamondwoods. And they'll be wearing Diamond merchandise. It'll be like Chappie.
This is always the bit I thought was the creepiest. Not their designs. They want to try and like decapitate her now and take off her head to play with them, and they start chasing her around.
So she decides to decapitate them instead.
Yeah.
Isn't that French?
Is this where she runs off and you see them like cropping up everywhere? I hate this bit.
Reminds me of the monkeys from Jungle Book.
Oh, yeah. So when you said that, I just thought Jungle Run for some reason, that TV show as a kid.
Oh yeah, the wooden.
Was it Sid and Elvis, the monkeys in that show? We've got international viewers. They ain't going to know what the hell we're talking about.
But for those international, this new Star Wars Kids Jedi Temple Challenge thing, that's basically Jungle Run for English people, but yours is Star Wars.
Jungle Run was a banging TV show when I was younger.
We had a good era of TV.
That and The Raven.
Yes, yeah.
He crops up at the odd convention these days. Chris Beaton when he's there, and everyone just looks at him like it's Raven, and he's old now. And he doesn't have a mohawk. He's not wearing a black Raven costume. And there's always the challenge at the end where they would always fail.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching one where someone actually made it through.
I think that's for one.
It was mind blowing.
The reality is, it was probably what, like, an assault course, and it was just like bark, like you'd find at a playground.
Yeah.
I'd love to have done that much ago. It's like Scar and Mufasa. Slash the Sarlacc pit.
Is that a puppet butthole that they added in there? Straight up sphincter and everything. That's
Imagine if the guys from South Park got hold of this property. Have they ever done a Labyrinth parody?
in South Park or just in general?
In South Park.
I'm not sure.
I'm
not the
not
right
sure.
person to ask that.
They did that incredible group of episodes, like Fantasyland, where like every single fictional thing came together. So if it was done, it would have been in there, I reckon.
That was convenient. Dead.
He's like, fucked if I know.
It's like, you know, like when it happens in films when the last foot just kicks like twice.
Is it going to be like Wizard of Oz, like Hoggle's feet are sticking out and then the shoes just curl up?
Imagine me the guy's job was to create a puppet for like that.
To make the puppet asshole? Yeah. Like, what did you do at work today? I made Hoggle. I made Ludo. I made the ass for the Book of Eternal Stench. It's a cool set, though. It's a really cool design. Oh, this is one of my
Bush doing in here?
Just throw the pirate fox in the bog.
The pirate fox. That is amazing. That is the best description for him. And yeah, it's fantasy stuff like this as well, where as they go through, they recruit like an extra member. It's like a video game. Like if you ever played like an RPG, you recruit different people for your party.
You always just turn around to check they're all still there with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, puppet fight! Oh.
It's gonna be like short round on the bridge. Like, look, Storm Bridge. Sheila says, "I have always wanted this dog." I agree. Ambrosius is the best dog.
That's a dog.
Puppet version and regular version.
That's a dog?
Sir Didymus has a dog that he rides around on, which in wide shots is a real life dog. In close up shots, it's puppet dog.
Wait, so
he hasn't showed up yet.
Ah, okay. Let me know when it's a dog because I'm curious now.
He's kicking his ass. He's kicking his ass.
Oh.
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 I'll bite your legs off.
Just strangles him.
It's like Thanos to Loki.
Imagine Ludo with the Infinity Gauntlet. Jeez.
Oh, it'd be unstoppable. So Ludo kind of looks like a cross between Harry and the Hendersons, and a Balrog. Like, it's weird.
I can't get over the Basil Brush thing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Oh shit! He's got an eye patch. Like, is he got like? He's got no eye behind there.
That's why I said pirate.
Yeah.
How does Ludo cross this bridge?
Ludo uses the reality stone to.
Grip strength.
I'm sorry, but she would not be able to hold on for that long.
He's a goddamn earthbearer. Not earthbearer. What are they called? Earthbender. There we go.
Do you know what? I've actually
only one episode in.
I watched the entire series of Avatar, The Last Airbender, in the span of, I think it was 5 days. Fantastic series.
Are you going to watch the film?
I'm not going to go watch the film.
Possible future drunk watch along after I've watched the series.
You do it as a drunk watch along. Oh my god! But I'm now watching through Legend of Korra, the sequel series, which is okay. It's not as good as Avatar, but I mean, those stones are wet. Does that mean
That's what I was going to bring up. I've always thought that every time I watch it. Does that count? It's like one drop from the Bog of Eternal Stench and you'll smell forever. Does that count?
In theory, it should.
I mean, I guess she's wearing shoes, but he ain't. So
Puppet dog. So that's Puppet Dog. And that's Regular Dog.
Oh, it's the Julix dog.
Yeah.
Wasn't that her dog earlier?
Yeah, so I guess you have sort of crossovers from the real world into the fantasy one.
So I remember when I was younger, we used to put I used to have like a giant paw. We used to put it on my dog's back and like run around with on. So what's in the apricot?
Does it send? Oh, I can't remember. I think does it send her into a sleep or something, or back to the beginning? He did mention it, but I wasn't listening. I have watched it a lot of times. I just can't remember. Sheila, help us out. I can't remember, even though I'm watching it right now. What happens when she eats the peach?
I just can't take the word Hogwarts seriously.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it'll just wipe a memory.
Have you heard the tragedy of Darth Vader? It was the way he said Sarah.
Deception. Disgrace.
He's fucking roofied her with a peach.
Just like Barbosa, I feel cold. Damn you all to hell. All those 3 musical notes in the subtitles can mean only one thing. This is one of the best scenes in the movie for me. It's one of the best songs. Probably the second best song after Magic Dance. Yeah, that's it. It sends her into a kind of dream vision thing that makes time go by. So she'll just lose a whole bunch of time.
So you just collect balls?
Just collects, yeah. You know, must get lonely up there. Guy's got to have a hobby, right? Well, now they're bubbles, apparently.
Is this going to be like the sequence from Dumbo?
It's one of the most stupendously huge dresses I've seen in anything, though. Actually, if they were going to do like a pink elephants thing, that would be right at home in this movie. Following those like weird things taking their heads off.
Love that the castle looks further away than it did at the start.
It's going to be Samwise Ganges. Oh, Korea.
Yeah.
And all of this could have been avoided if that prick worm had told them to go in the right direction.
Oh god, it's like Eyes Wide Shut.
I was going to say, you say it looks like Eyes Wide Shut. Sheila, this scene will just going to be the inspiration.
Apparently, the original concept for this scene, when it was on paper, was much more sexualized. So it was like a weird kind of masked orgy kind of thing, which is really weird. Yeah, I know.
Way worse.
I know. Bowie looks like he's auditioning for the Rolling Cats.
Could he have saved cats if he was still alive?
Oh, hell yeah. Well, actually, no, not when he's like clad in CGI, no.
I could see him playing Mr. Mistopheles.
Yeah, that could be good. I see this. Really could have seen him in Lord of the Rings now. But then again, it's like, is that too much of a famous name to have in something like that? You know, David Bowie is Lord Elrond.
Bowie in Lord of the Rings, like he's obviously book reason, he's Elrond. Like that would probably, and I think Bowie fans that don't know Lord of the Rings would expect something bigger. Oh, what did that happen in recently? I feel there's been probably a Marvel film where some humongous musicians had a small. No, Beyonce and Lion King.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would have been like that. Like, no, you're the small role. You're not the main character. There is a rumor Beyonce signed an $80 million contract with Disney, where she would something about 2 projects, but also she would be involved in the Black Panther 2 soundtrack.
That's a disgusting amount of money.
That is
$8 million.
And it must be whatever these projects are must be like gargantuan. Because I can't imagine, not that she's not desirable, but it doesn't strike me as someone that would make a deal like that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, now I'm watching this for the first ever time. I can't see anyone else being him.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Like, what would do some really cringy, awful...
Prince would
change his appearance.
If Prince was cast as the lead in this film, this would absolutely be a sex scene.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they mentioned that they cast because they did have like a whole bunch of actresses lined up for it as well. I think even Helena Bonham Carter, young Helena Bonham Carter, was originally in talks to play the role, but they cast Jennifer Connelly because although she was 14, she had a maturity about her in terms of her acting and how she was, and they wanted a kind of character who was on the cusp of moving away from childhood and entering adulthood.
So if you had to cast now an actress in a similar role,
I don't know many 14-year actresses.
Yeah.
The obvious one, Millie Bobby Brown's been in everything that she can be for the teen actress thing, hasn't it?
What's the name of the she's too old for it now, but the chick who was in Bumblebee.
Haley.
Yeah, she might have been good.
She would have been good, actually, yeah. But she was very good in True Grit when she was younger.
Yeah.
Was it one of the youngest ever nominees?
Was the kid from Zombieland the youngest ever nominee?
I think so.
Oh, for Oh,
Nominated for something.
the beauty pageant movie, wasn't it? What was it called? Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
So when I saw Force Awakens, the
first thing I thought of straight away then
reminded me of this. Yeah.
Well, that thing in Rogue One, which isn't in it for longer, looks like that Lottie thing.
Yeah,
The
one. The Yeti thing. Yeah.
I know it's a different conversation, but the fact that the sequel trilogy and Disney films have gone back to the creature effects, I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a good balance they struck. There were some things in the sequels, especially like Canto biting 8 and the Crystal Foxes. I thought some close-up shots you maybe could have done a puppet for those as well. Why not? But I think for the most part they struck a really good balance between the two.
And not to hype them too much, I still think a lot of that comes down to the Nolan slowly bringing back visual effects, like real, more so than the CGI that epitomised the early noughties. Just remind me of Alice in Wonderland. Now you guys have said it a couple of times. More so than any other fantasy type thing.
Is that what post is that? Is that a Vita? What post is that on the right hand side? See the person doing like?
Yeah, I can't see the first two. Evita, maybe.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah, Evita, the musical. I think originally the concept for this like old junk lady was meant to be Jareth in disguise as the old woman, but then they just abandoned that and she's just another new character. You know, he's like trying to distract her with stuff.
It's like member berries.
She sounds like a female version of Billy Mays, or someone like that. Who's the UK version? Barry Scott. You know, just over the advertising. Here, you got a printer. Here's the printer.
Now I just want to hear Barry Scott as the voice artist for this character.
Barry Scott here with your slippers, which you love. You should
bang, and the dirt is gone. Like, or like the guy from X Factor. It's time to face the music. Like, I'm going to take I don't think we've got that much longer to go, in all honesty. We've got about 27 minutes. I'm going to take a very quick bathroom break. So if you can man the fort.
So, George, how have you found this film so far?
It's strange. It's not what I expected. I didn't imagine it to be more Alice in Wonderland. I thought it was more going to be like Dark Crystal. I guess I should know the word Labyrinth, but
yeah,
everything happens in the first 5 minutes, which I quite like because it just gets you into the story.
Yeah, there wasn't too much setup going into it, anything like that. And because that, you straight onto the journey, straight onto the story.
And I think that saves time and money for things like these.
Yeah, films like Lord of the Rings, you need that setup time to get like the atmosphere set and everything like that. This one, you can go straight into it and just have the journey, have the adventure, because that's where you gain the atmosphere.
Yeah, I like the creature designs as well. I feel that I've seen a lot of films not rip this off, but you can clearly tell that, like what Chris mentioned earlier of Star Wars, that there's probably been a lot of things inspired by this, certainly design-wise.
So I've got to take my one penalty drink. Oh, wait, no, we're not playing by those rules today, are we? Didymus is just like Leroy Jenkins, just running in there.
Oh my god!
Hi, everyone.
I only discovered that about a month ago. Like
So good. That was like the dawn of the internet. That was.
Yeah, someone shared things because I'd heard the words Leroy Jenkins been shouted at on like meme compilations, but I never knew it. And then someone shared us if it was the 15th anniversary.
Mm.
Mm.
I mean, when you guys play online, are you a Leroy Jenkins or are you the leader?
I always try and Leroy Jenkins it at least once.
Best way to do it. Especially
then
like
again, I've never played like if you're talking games like that. Was he playing World of Warcraft in the Leroy?
Yeah,
Jenkins?
but I mean, just as a general like think online like COD back in the day, Battlefront, like when the online era of like PS3.
I always try and Leroy Jenkins it, but it never works out well. And I don't think it's meant to. So this thing was, I don't know if it still is, or it certainly was at the time, the biggest puppet they'd ever worked on. It was massive. Like in the behind the scenes, it was amazing how they did it. I think it weighed tons as well. It was like this huge, massive lumbering thing they built.
I'm just getting massive Mongo vibes from Shrek 2.
Yeah. Hoggle's just like Assassin's Creed.
I think Assassin's Creed taught people for many years that for every game that came after, you can't jump off 300-foot buildings and survive.
Into a bale of hay. Every time. Always a conveniently placed bale of hay.
Aim for
Although,
the bush.
very satisfying. If anyone here plays Battlefront 2, there's a mode called Ewok Hunt. When you spawn as the Ewoks, you can jump off the trees and you do drop about 100 feet and land it.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's like, that's the Assassin's Creed vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Scrappy Doo, isn't it? In Mr. Bean.
Sorry, Hoggle here is just like, fuck, I'm going full on villain now.
Well, I mean, he did give Sarah the peach, so this is where he makes his final strike. Oh no, he's going to blow up.
As far as the evolution of a villain arc, he's gone from kind of not really interested in the story to hero's friend to kind of almost working for the enemy to fully working for the enemy to almost killing the hero. I think that's a pretty good villain arc so far.
It's almost, there's so many layers. It's like Ray Winston's Triple Cross in Indiana Jones 4.
Yeah.
No, Indy, I'm CIA. And then like 5 minutes later, no, I double crossed you. I wasn't really CIA. And then he was his friend again. And then I.
How did he die again? Did he get
really
eaten by them things? Did he get greedy of the treasure, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then he gets pulled into the space between spaces portal. And he says he's going to be all right. I'm like, how do you know that?
This reminds me even more of Assassin's Creed, like go into a new town.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, free music notes.
Don't worry, there's no musical number here. It's just background music.
Ah, that's a shame.
They built all of this. Look at it. My God. So good. I love just how disinterested the Goblin King is. Just again, there's another Hobbit comparison, but in the second movie, Legolas's dad, when he's first introduced, he's kind of slouched in like a kind of this pose in the throne, and I always wondered if he took inspiration from David Bowie's character in this a little bit.
He reminds me of like bored of ruling, but at the moment there's an issue, he solves the issue.
Yeah.
Isn't this the way you go around it anyway? You just send out a massive army and just, guard the gate.
It's the Battle of the Five Armies. Yo hee ho, yo ho. Yeah, they wanted for the finale, they wanted some kind of battle to end on a bang, but they didn't want it to be an actual battle with people dying and stuff. So it's still a very silly, kid-friendly battle.
It makes sense, though, doesn't it, for the tone of the film?
Yeah, exactly.
I thought he said shit then for a second.
So Sir Didymus just goes, fuck!
I meant woof, woof. Yeah, how on earth are you going to be hiding that goddamn behemoth running behind?
I think I actually like Puppet Ambrosius more than real Ambrosius. Of the pissing statue there on the right.
I love that there was no other way to describe it. Pissing statue.
Is this going to be like the Donnie Yen scene from Rogue One? It is, isn't it?
I was going to say, if you start saying, I'm one with the Force and the Force with me.
And then they all die one by one. Oh, there you go. There he's dead. Ludo's the meat shield. Oh wait, no, okay. You can just do that.
I'm building apart, Jesus. Now it's time for them to Assassin's Creed it across the rooftops.
I just noticed that weird bird thing flying in the background there. I never noticed that before. Wait, the dog can lock doors as well? It's the Power Rangers.
Was that? Hold on. Was the subtitle there "Growls in Confusion"? Did she just bottle someone?
Yeah.
You just said this is a kids-friendly battle.
She just
It's like the sound effect from A New Hope that scared the Tusken Raiders.
It reminds me, in Two Towers where Treebeard sees all the dead trees at the end of the film and he goes like, no, and it echoes out. Reminds me of that a little bit.
So is Ludo the Avatar or?
Yeah, I said earlier he's a goddamn earthbender.
Nah, full on Avatar. Eyes go white and everything.
Yeah, but he hasn't mastered all the elements.
There you go.
He can't be the Avatar. Here's the Indiana Jones shot. That boulder straight up killed a real life chicken there. I have to that rolled right over it.
Was that in reverse, that shot?
Yeah.
Is that the Lucius Malfoy cane?
I was just looking at the cane. I haven't seen like any sort of like memorabilia from this film, and the fact that there's not like the cane out there to buy surprises me. I thought that would be one of the first things they'd bring out.
I mean, they may have. You just need to look in the right place, I guess.
There's probably someone on Etsy selling one.
Mm.
Actually, this does kind of remind me of The Five Bloods. This is a bit like Nam.
It's a bit like what? Sorry,
Nam.
Oh, she's got machine guns.
Like I said,
It's like the end of The Last Samurai.
Oh my god. Okay, I know there's no death in this movie, but that character's dead, right? Can we all agree that character's dead?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, is this coming up to the inception moment?
Well, technically, she made it to the castle, so.
Yeah, but I can't remember what the rules were at the beginning. Was it just make it to the castle before the time, or was it get to where she needs to get to within the time? Like the correct room.
Get to the next level. Jump out the window.
Imagine this scene being just one of the only redeemable things from what's it called, final series of Game of Thrones with the Clegane Bowl.
I
didn't like that. That was not worth waiting 8 years for.
This scene is amazing. This is Inception, a paradox.
What on earth is going on?
It's cool.
Do you think? Oh wait, I said, do you think young Christopher Nolan watched this and was
that's what I think. Yeah,
but then I'm just trying to think how old he is. He's about 10, 50. He'd be like a teenager. He watched this like I'm going to bend worlds, and he had David Bowie in his film.
Yeah,
it's all connected.
As Sheila says, one of my favorite songs coming up. Yeah, this is one of my favorites on the soundtrack too.
I mean, Bowie didn't do many films, did he? I think he was always very selective.
I know he did the song for Cat People, but I don't know if he was in it. Let me just check. He's done some stuff. His earlier stuff, he was uncredited. That was like late 60s, early 70s stuff. He was in The Last Temptation of Christ as a Pontius Pilate, the Scorsese movie.
I always remember his classic Zoolander cameo. For those that haven't seen Zoolander, it's a great cameo.
He did a voice in a SpongeBob SquarePants, apparently, in one episode.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember that. I think he was like a lord, but they
Lord Royal Highness he's credited as.
Yeah, it was like a joke name of like all the titles you could have. Oh, look at the baby escaping. Does this remind anyone of the Philosopher's Stone? Like probably the original Hogwarts design. Do you reckon this had anything to do with it?
Maybe.
So I know out of all the scenes, this was the one Jim Henson stuck to the story. Everything was storyboarded out, and they followed it to the T for this scene, for all the angles and everything.
So cool.
I believe it's the final boss fight now.
Oh, yep, she's landed in a platform in the middle of nowhere.
It's like Gandalf versus the start of Two Towers, isn't it?
Now, Tayte, I know that you clocked onto what I was talking about, but if you didn't notice it before, my God, there it is. Front and center, right there.
I know that he's good mates with Gary Oldman, but his acting mannerisms remind me a lot of him.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially Leon.
Mm.
I think Gary Oldman could do a really good job of playing Bowie.
Oh, I don't know.
Might be too old now.
Now he's old, yeah. Because he did his music videos towards the end, didn't he?
I'm trying to think of someone with like. See, I'm thinking Cumberbatch. I'm thinking of like the facial structure, like cheekbones.
The one that gets around a lot. Tilda Swinton, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
The problem is when the day comes where they do a legitimate one, not the awful one that kind of happened last year that has not been released.
Mm.
I don't want it to be a Bohemian Rhapsody. It's a playlist of his greatest songs.
It will be though.
I'd rather it was a Rocket Man. Like, let's just have some like weird experience into his. Because to someone like Bowie, I'd rather have this like majestical experience, high on drugs, LSD film, than play it by the numbers. Let's go.
Yeah, it needs to be really surreal, but I can see them going with a
standard.
It depends who's in control. Like, I don't know who's in control of his catalog of music, like which company it is, because they'd have a say in it as well. And
so when there was that film last year that got announced and filmed, they had no legal reality to use anything. So they had no songs and no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really bandwagon. I don't even think it came out. I think it was going to try and get on sale at like a big festival this year, but I know that Duncan Jones tweeted saying that they had no involvement in the family. I think his son's got some of the rights now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably his wife as well. I think if history was going to repeat itself, it'd be his son that directs a film about him, surely. I mean, he was named Zowie Bowie. Like, he's got probably the deepest connection someone can have.
I guess David had a sense of humor.
I could just imagine like a film finishing, like he doesn't ever take back his dad into his birth name until he does the biopic and takes it back for that credit.
I mean, that would be humiliating though if he made it and it was a terrible film though.
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? Strange career, 2 fantastic films, and then Warcraft and Mute. Was Warcraft the third one?
Warcraft, oh boy.
I never saw that. I'm not.
I unfortunately did.
Thankfully, I didn't.
I saw Mute though. I know he's doing some comic book adaptation now, which is fair.
Guys, we'll always have.
Moon's incredible. Source Code I loved. So did I miss it? How did he get defeated? Or did
I just said that you have no power over me. It was the last. It was the line she couldn't remember in the book she was reading at the beginning of the film.
Did she actually have no power over me?
Yeah.
It's not a Lord of the Rings joke or anything. No.
So you have no power here, Gandalf the Grey. Oh, she's got a statue of Bowie. That's weird. Was that there at the beginning? Did we see that?
Yeah, I remember that being there.
What a weird thing to have.
I guess he's got to make money somehow.
This is where like the horror music starts kicking.
That would creep you the fuck out. Like suddenly look into the mirror. Ah!
Oh yeah, cat. Yeah, so she's got cats. She's Andrew Lloyd Webber fan then. Evita, cats.
Yep.
Yeah, he'd hoggle. He betrayed you like twice.
Yeah.
Would it be about her kids probably if they did a sequel, or the baby brother, or it'd be like
Or the
Mary Poppins Returns?
New family, I'm not sure.
Do a bit like T2.
Musical number.
What's the It's like the wizard out of the Hobbit there.
Oh, Radagast.
Yeah, I think it's a kid's film. I can't call him what I normally call that wizard. The the markings on the face. You just cut out, haven't you?
That has to be
He lives.
one of the weirdest last lines in a film.
What was the line again? I missed it.
Huh? Oh. Okay, no, they can have this.
I mean, I guess if they were going to do a sequel, they could go with the whole thing of the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, where Jareth can keep changing form.
No, that's
But I'm sorry, I need to continue to watch the movie.
I will always say about Netflix that at least Disney Plus gives you the respect of this finishes in 18 seconds. What would you like to watch? Whereas Netflix is it's done in 18 seconds. We're going to start something.
Yeah. So we've just hit Underground on the credits. The movie's finished, but we've got credits. So,
There will
thoughts?
be questions on this film during our quiz on Thursday.
Yeah.
That's just straight off the bat.
Very much looking forward to doing the fantasy quiz.
Mm.
We've already got a few questions lined up. But yeah, Thursday, 8:30 p.m.
My thoughts on this film, actually properly watching it this time, I enjoyed it a lot more. I have a lot more respect for the film. Yeah, there isn't really much more I can say.
Well, there you go. Look, Underground, Dance Magic, Chilly Down as the World Falls Down Within You, all done by Bowie.
Mm.
Fun thing on the soundtrack, though, for Dance Magic, the studio recording version, they got a baby in to do like "and the babies said," and then when the baby's meant to do the gurgling sounds, and they couldn't get a single sound out of that baby. It was silent as the grave, so Bowie had to do the baby sound effects on the recording, on the studio version. He had to bite the bullet.
There you go. Creature Workshop team's coming up now.
Yeah. Respect.
I'm glad that they credit them individually for each character they did rather than just lump them all in.
Like, look how many people worked on the Junk Lady alone. Like, Jesus.
So, George, what were your thoughts on the film?
I enjoyed it. I think I'd have probably liked it a lot more if I was like younger, which is fine. But I thought it. I can see why it's the cult film it is. I think that's the fairest way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good time. I'm intrigued for a sequel. Intrigued. Because they shouldn't do one. But like I said, the Dark Crystal angle is probably why they're doing one.
Mm.
And I think if it's Henson's family that have the rights to it, I'm curious because they're obviously very protective over his legacy. Because
I was wary when Netflix said they were going to do a continuation of Dark Crystal. I was wary, well, a prequel, sorry, of Dark Crystal. I was wary about that until I started seeing that it was the same, creative team, family, the same house making it all and everything like that, and the care that we're doing with it. And it was fantastic. And I love the Dark Crystal TV series. I think the difference is because Dark Crystal is entirely puppets. This has the live action element, and David Bowie, you can't fill those shoes. So I would rather them leave it alone. It is a product of its time. It's a very, very 80s movie, but it does have that, that cult following with people. And I'd leave it at that. I don't think you need to mine every single IP from the 80s or 90s or whatever for all these remakes and continuations. Dark Crystal is a world. There's a lot of lore there that you can go into. With this, it's kind of a very much self-contained movie, and I don't think you really need to do anything else with it. But again, as you said, like the estate or whoever, I don't know who has the Henson rights and everything. I think it's his daughter, actually, if I remember rightly.
The problem is as well. Sorry to jump in.
No, that's fine.
The people now making the shots, the producers funding the films, choosing the films, they're all the people that grew up with films like these in the 80s, which I'm not saying that's a reason why, because obviously money's the main thing. But I think now you're reaching an era where a lot of the people redoing the remakes, the ones that grew up with these properties that they wanted more from. I feel like that's also something that kind of came into it about 5 minutes ago, so I never really thought that before.
Mm-hmm. But this movie, for me, if you know, comparing it to Dark Crystal's a very different movie in that it's a much more serious movie. It's sort of creating this world, whereas this is just sort of a fun romp, kids movie through a magical world. I love the imagination behind it. The creature design, the conceptual design is out of this world. It's phenomenal. The puppets and everything like that, and it's just an era of films that I really love. I really appreciate good practical effects, all the hard work that went into making it, and the imagination behind it, and that's why I love fantasy. And it is. I do think. I mean, I watched it when I was a teenager, and I still enjoyed it. But I agree with you, George. Like, it must be sort of weird coming into it now. Almost, I think there is that disconnect now. If you do watch, say, a kids movie, that
I think
you don't have to sit with.
I don't think I'd have probably liked it if I went for Bowie, in all honesty. But I think he's the only person that can pull off acting with a load of puppets in that level. I mean, obviously he's established and stuff, but Mark Hamill always speaks about in episode 5 that the hardest work of his career was being on that set for 10 weeks in Nova Humans, but Frank Oz as Yoda, and fair play to Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie that all they did was film with puppets, and they play off it well. You wouldn't think it. Sorry, Netflix just come up as recommending Space Jam, and that's going straight onto my list because I've not seen it since I was a kid, and I've now watched Last Dance. Changing conversation back though. Nice. I enjoyed it. It's kind of what I expected, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want a sequel. But they're going to do it, so why not make Gaga? I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know how they can do it. I don't know.
I feel like
find a way. Maybe it'll be. I know that they'll want to try and keep it very practical, but I have a feeling that the sets are probably going to be dressed instead of being painted sets or anything like that. It's probably going to be a digital set.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't think that. I think they'd keep them as sets and puppets.
I think you'd lose. I think the matte paintings would be replaced with digital.
Yeah.
As indeed Age of Resistance was. They did have some digital effects in there, which did kind of. They used it sparingly, but even in some scenes, I'm like, you could have done that with a matte painting, but depends. It's going to be who they get as Jareth, or are they going to come up with a new character? Are they going to continue the trope of having a popular music icon? Because then you've got to go by today's standards. Bowie was huge in the 70s and the 80s. Who's huge now? Who could you get now? Who could do it? Lady Gaga, God forbid, Ed Sheeran. Jesus Christ! Imagine that. Like,
they need to have charisma.
Yeah,
that's
Ed Sheeran
more
ruined
important than music.
Ed Sheeran ruined The Hobbit with his credit song in Desolation of Smaug. He ruined Game of Thrones with his cameo in Seven. Is he going to ruin Labyrinth as well?
He was very good in Yesterday. He was very wooden in Yesterday.
Did they imply that in season 8 of not Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones that they killed him? Wasn't there some passing comment about murdering a group of people? Or
they said his ginger hair got singed off or something like that.
We needed that on screen. That would have been a very cathartic experience. But yeah, I mean, I think we've pretty much said everything we can on Labyrinth. I know that we've had 2 people. We've had Sheila and Hennock watching, but if anyone does come across this, let us know what you think of Labyrinth. And we've mentioned it already. I'm going to mention it again this Thursday upcoming. I'm going to bring up the socials very quickly. Follow us on there. This Thursday, we are going live with another quiz, fantasy quiz. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we have got a lot of show ideas planned, some that we're very much looking forward to. Definitely next month. Another watch-along, possible Battle of the Brackets as well, and another retrospective as well. So follow us on all of those for more information on that, times and everything like that. And I think that's everything. So thank you to everyone who tuned in. And until next time, we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.